Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Today we are doing part 2 of Windows Fundamentals. It took me a couple days, but don't worry, I'm going to come out with a few more videos this week for you guys to try and speed this up because I want to get this cert taken so I can move on. So first thing is the free RDP. If you don't remember how to actually use X free RDP, go to either module 1 of the Windows Fundamentals, Intro to Windows, and it tells you, or go to the first video from last week and it will tell you. So we're going to continue right where we left off, and then I'll release the full video hopefully for you guys tomorrow as well. So Windows sessions, interactive, blah, blah. So there's interactive or local logon sessions. This is initiated by a user authenticating to a local or domain system. So what's this mean? It means someone's actually logging in, right? Someone is interactively logging in. They are going to connect to the domain, etc., and they're logging in directly onto that system. That can be with RDP or whatever, but they're actually physically logging in, right? And you can see they're using run as something, but they are logging in. Now, non-interactive logins, these are your service accounts. There are 3 types of non-interactive accounts: local system account, local service account, and then network service account. If you don't know what a service account is, it's simply an account that actually does a service. We talked about services last video. Whatever those services run and do, it needs an account to log in. Well, when you log in, it knows it is a service, not a person logging in, and it can do that service, and so it's a non-interactive login. This is very nice because it makes it very easy to tell odd behavior. An example would be a service account starts doing interactive logins. That'd be weird, right? Things like that. So you can see you have differences between your 3 accounts. You have your local system, your local service, and your network. NT Authority System, that's the most powerful account in Windows. This is your local admin, right? Your local, it's even higher than admin system. And then then you have NT Authority Local Service. This has less privileges than system, keep that in mind, but similar privileges to a local user account. So if I get access to that, I have local user privileges, right? And then network service accounts, this is similar to a domain user. Really, it's got the privileges of whatever service is needed. So if the service for some reason needs system privileges, it has that, right? Okay, so interacting with the operating system, all of you probably, hopefully, know how to use the graphical user interface, the GUI. That is what we're using right now. It is literally log in using the interface and hitting Windows, doing stuff, right? Then you have your RDP. This is it says a proprietary Microsoft protocol which allows users to connect to a remote desktop over network protocol. Basically what this is, it uses port 3389, and it actually goes through and allows you to log in exactly like this. Well, give me a sec. I don't know why it does this every time, but exactly like this. And we have full access to this Windows machine just as if we were sitting there. Now, it's based on your bandwidth and your network connectivity, so it might be a little laggy or whatever, but it allows us to log into other machines from somewhere else, right? Now you have your Windows command line. This gives users greater control over the system, can be used to perform a wide variety of day-to-day tasks. You all probably know what command line is. It is, if you go down here and search and type CMD, it's this right here. And that is the command line. All right, welcome back. So really quickly, we just covered Windows command line. So there's 2 ways to interact with that command line. It's PowerShell and command prompt, which we're going to talk about command prompt now. That's what I was talking about. If you go down here, type CMD, you get command prompt. This is the prompt. It's used to enter commands, and this is how you actually, back in the day, would operate, and still, you operate a lot of servers without the GUI. Windows has a GUI. Linux, some versions have a GUI, some don't, right? You can also, if your computer like gets into some trouble, like whatever, and you have to boot and do recovery mode or something, you can just access the command prompt and work your computer that way. You can see here the help command. This is very similar to Linux, the man pages. So this is, you type help and then whatever command you want, and you can see they kind of give you the, here's what you do, here's the commands or the syntax you run, and you should be good to go. Right? It's kind of like a really good documentation built into it. You can also look it up online, and it might make it a little more make sense. Microsoft actually has amazing documentation. I give them credit on that. For as much software and like everything they have, their public documentation is very good. PowerShell. So PowerShell is designed by Microsoft, blah, 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 more geared towards sysads. So PowerShell is like the Windows command line, has an interactive command prompt with powerful scripting environment. So this is the big thing with PowerShell, is that you can script much easier, in my opinion. I guess it depends on what you consider easier, right? I think that you have more capabilities with PowerShell. And then you have commandlets, which is very similar to like little repos, if you will. So they use small single function tools built into the shell. There's more than 100 commandlets, and many additional ones have been written. So basically these are things like here, like get alias, which we're going to use here shortly. You type get alias and it shows you, hey, here's all the aliases, right? Perfect. So like for instance, if I do cat, it actually does get content. Why is this important? Well, if you're very familiar with Linux, you can make your aliases match pretty much what Linux does, and you can run it that way, right? Okay, so and that's how they do it. You're actually using get content and set location and all that stuff, but you can use CD and ls and all that stuff. Okay, so we can set up our own aliases with new alias, and then we can say get alias, right? And that's what we're going to talk, or what we're going to do here in a second. Then help command, in my opinion, they're a little bit more flushed out. I don't know if it's the blue, or I don't think the blue's amazing either, but the black is just, for me, everybody thinks it, like everyone remembers the old school black with green. It's actually like harder for me to read. I don't know why. Maybe it's just hard on my eyes. I don't know. But I actually like the blue a little better, the PowerShell blue. But I like the man pages or the help pages as well. And then you can say get help, get app package, and it gives you all the information. So main takeaway here, if you ever run into an issue and you're like, I don't really know the syntax for that command, type get help, and I promise the syntax is somewhere in there that you can find, and it will help you. The ISE integrated scripting environment, this is very nice because it allows you to create scripts on the fly. You can just run them right in the environment. So like for an example, I've ran scripts where I had to run it like 5, 6, 7 times, but I have to change a variable in there. But I don't want to, it's not going to be enough times where I'm going to use this so many times that I need to like hard code it in to ask for a variable or have it be anything like that. I can just run it in the PowerShell scripting environment and just change it real fast, and that's just an example use case, but there's a million ways that you could do this, and it's really nice to have that capability. One common way to work with a script in PowerShell is to import it so that all the functions are then available within our current PowerShell console. So import module, PowerView, PS1. This is an example where actually it's pretty common to do, especially in pen testing. You might import something, and then when you import it, now I can actually start using those commands and it will reference that script, right? So for instance, you can see get module, select name, export, blah, blah, exported commands. You can see they're actually adding these commands in, add content, all that stuff. So let's see. All right, and they're just showing you the modules. Execution policy. So sometimes we find that we are unable to run scripts. This is very common, especially if you're a low-level user, due to a security feature called execution policy, which attempts to prevent the execution of malicious scripts. So, long story short, if anybody can script anything at all times on an environment, on like an enterprise environment, that's kind of dangerous, because you might say, well, I don't have malware here, but if I'm a decent coder, even not a decent coder, you can create malware very easily. It might not be good, but you can create it. And if I can just create a script, for instance, let's say I download Mimikatz, but Mimikatz won't run in my environment because it's going to get blocked because of the hash. Okay, let's say I just take Mimikatz and copy and paste it and make my own script and change it a little bit, and now I can just run it in your environment. You shouldn't be able to just run scripts like that. And Mimikatz is a bad example because it's so big, but like even small scripts, like just a data exfil, like a DNS data exfil script, you can make, I mean, that could be 2 lines. You shouldn't just be able to run that. Okay, so you have all signed, all scripts can run, but a trusted publisher must sign scripts. There's dangers to this, and some of them come in the form of sysinternals. Sysinternals that we talked about is signed by Microsoft. Microsoft didn't create that. That doesn't mean it's bad inherently, but if an attacker can run sysinternals, they can do quite a bit. So understand, like, there's pros and cons to everything you do, so your company has to agree on a sort of security posture that they're going to accept and a risk standard that they're going to accept. So bypass. No scripts or configuration files are blocked, and the user receives no warning or prompts. Well, that seems obviously not the best, but there's times people need that, right? And that's why it's called bypass, because you're bypassing it all. Default, this is the default execution policy, restricted for Windows desktop machines and remote signed for Windows servers. Remote signed, scripts can run, but requires a digital signature on scripts that are downloaded from the internet. Digital signatures are not required for scripts that are written locally. So this is an example of, hey, admins can run remote signed, which means it's digitally signed if it's downloaded, but if I actually build it here, then I can run it. That's a kind of a compromise, if you will, right? If you trust your admins, and you should. Why would you hire them if you don't? But I just mean, if your risk acceptance is, hey, if someone gets in here, it's too late anyway. Some people have that acceptance risk, right? Restricted, this allows individual commands, but does not allow scripts to be run. So I can go in PowerShell and I can type individual commands, but I can't just sit there and make a whole script. All script files, including configuration files, module script files, blah, blah, are blocked. Undefined, no execution policy is set for the current scope. If the execution policy for all scopes is set to undefined, then the default policy of restricted will be used. Okay, and then unrestricted, the default execution policy for non-Windows computers, and it cannot be changed. So this policy allows for unsigned scripts to be run, but warns the user before running scripts that are not from the local intranet. Okay, pretty easy. You can see we can get the execution policy list, and we can determine pretty quickly, hey, what do we do? Well, if it's undefined and we know that makes it go to restricted, we can run regular commands, but we can't run scripts. So we now know what we're doing in the environment. The reason these are important, and a lot of people like go through these and they go, okay, that's great. The reason this is important is if you go into an environment as a pen tester and you don't know the execution policy and you don't look at it, and then you start trying to run stuff and you're like, oh, it's working. Well, it might be working, but for instance, on the remote sign, right? It might be working, but if you know that's not normal or something like that, you might be alerting yourself, right? The other thing is, if you don't know that it's not blocked, or I mean that it is blocked, excuse me, and you go to run it, you just set off something, probably. I say probably because not everybody's security alerting is the same, but there's a reason they have it blocked. And so if they have it blocked, they probably have a notification system that says, tell me when someone tries this, because they shouldn't be, and it's against our policy. So understand that there's times where you need to kind of know that stuff, right? Below is an example of changing the execution policy for the current process. So if you're in PowerShell, you can set the execution policy, bypass, scope, process. So this is, you're saying the scope is just in this process, right? We can now see that the execution policy has been changed. So now you're in bypass mode. Okay, so now what do we do? What's the alias for the IP config? Well, if we just go up here, and by the way, guys, I get questions a lot like, sometimes like, do you not memorize these commands or whatever? Like get alias, like, yeah, I know the command. I always go up and find them and then copy and paste them for you guys. And the reason I do that is so that you can visually see that they're in the module. I'm not just, because sometimes I get critiqued when I use things that aren't in the module. An example is I've used X-Free RDP, and it wasn't in the module. I just used it, and people are like, why the heck would you put that in there? Nobody would know that. And it's like, I mean, it was something that I knew I could use. So, okay, so now we'll go ahead and, I don't know if I can copy and paste it over, but we'll just say get. Come on, what's it doing here? Get alias. It's like there we go, okay. Alias. Okay, and you can see we have all of our aliases, and it's asking us, what is the alias set for the ipconfig.exe? Well, if we go down here, or go up, excuse me. Sorry, this thing is not responding very much, so we go to, we're looking for ipconfig.exe, and I am doing stuff, by the way. It's just not responding, so There's ipconfig.exe. So we just go in here, and it's just ipconfig. It says it's not correct, but I'm looking at it right here. ifconfig, excuse me. There you go, ifconfig. Okay, find the execution policy set for the local machine scope. So all we gotta do is go up here, and you can say get execution policy and list. Get, okay, it's not really helping me. Hey, come on, I'm pushing execution. Oh, it says failed to get clipboard, so it's not actually copying and pasting. Okay. Policy, and we'll say list. And you can see we're in bypass mode right now. What it asks us, find the execution policy set for the local machine scope. Come on, go up. And if you go to local machine, it is unrestricted. And if you look at unrestricted as we go up, you can see, if I go back down, I went too far. Right here, unrestricted, it's the default execution, which means for non-Windows computers, this policy allows unsigned scripts to be run, but warns the user. So what's that mean? We can actually run unsigned scripts. So that's pretty dangerous, I would say, right? All right. Now, WMI, Windows Management Instrumentation. If you guys aren't using WMI or have never used WMI, you probably ought to try it. I recommend it. It's a great, great subsystem of PowerShell. It's something that people use a lot. It's also another method of remote management, which I will tell you guys from a pen tester perspective, any method of remote management is something I'm going to use as a pen tester, or try to, right? So it's a subsystem of PowerShell that provides sysads with powerful tools for system monitoring. The goal of WMI is to consolidate device and application management across corporate networks. WMI is a core part of the Windows operating system, blah, blah, blah. Okay, here's the component names if you want to go through them, but you have your service, runs automatically, boots, acts as the intermediary, managed objects, any logical or physical components that be managed by WMI, blah, blah. Classes, methods, these are attached classes. Okay, we're just going to go through it. You can read these if you guys want. I try not to read things verbatim to you because you should be reading these. You shouldn't just be watching my video. So some of the uses for WMI, status information for local remote systems. So any of you guys have ever been an admin in Windows, you know that you can run remote commands, you can RDP into it. WMI kind of lets you do a little bit more, and you'll see it also is a different set of basically standards that you use to do that, and so it's pretty nice. So you can see status information for local remote. These tasks can, and you can see they use the help menu here. They're using the command prompt. All right, and you can see WMI OS list brief, and if you look in here, they don't have OS list, but that's all right. So you can see when they list it, it gives them the build number, the owner, serial number, the directory, and the version. This might seem like, okay, whatever, but then you can use that to remotely do that and start gathering information for other machines, right? Okay, brief to, yep, an in-depth listing of verb switches is available here. So you want something, this is an example of something I do. I use things like Obsidian. So if I'm like, hey, I'm going to use WMI for a pen test, guess what? I can go in here and start copying and pasting what's important, add this to my wiki in Obsidian, and now I have a searchable way to do remote commands on a machine, right? So just food for thought on some of that. Okay, so WMIC uses aliases and associated verbs. Here we can get information about the operating system. So here we're on the PowerShell, and we say get WMI object, class Windows 32 operating system, and then they're selecting, they only want to see the system directory, the build number, the serial number, and the version. Same thing is up here, and there you go. Now we can also use the invoke WMI method, which is used to call the methods of WMI objects. A simple example is renaming a file. Okay, so you want to rename a file, invoke WMI method, path, and then there's your data file. Name is whatever, spns.csv, and then rename. And you can see they're going to rename it to public Kerberoasted users.csv. All right, and then it's a brief overview, blah, blah, blah. Okay, all that. All they're showing you is multiple ways to do WMI. You can literally read that documentation that Microsoft gave you, and it'll show you the same thing. You can mess with it. It's Windows management. That's it. I mean, it's pretty simple. It's just like anything else, and I say this all the time. You don't have to memorize the commands. We're in 2025. If you don't have access to the internet, you're not doing the pen test anyway, probably. So why does it matter? Now, there's alternatives to that. If you're on like a classified network and stuff, you probably have to memorize some of this. You have to write it down on notes, things like that, and that sucks, and I'm sorry. But understand, and you can see it says use WMI to find the serial number, which is what we're going to do. But understand that there's so many ways to do the same thing. The biggest thing to do is have the knowledge base, build yourself a knowledge base so that you can access this when needed. Because you might do a firewall rule and RDP's blocked, 3389 is blocked. Well, look at this. Google, actually we'll just do it on here. What does WMI port use? And I don't know why I typed it that way. Look at that, WMI uses port 135. So if I'm trying to do some remote code, try and run, you know, stay living off the land, look less suspicious, that type of thing, and or even using something like Cobalt Strike or, you know, Sliver or anything like that, and I'm trying to connect to your machine using RDP, but it's getting blocked by the firewall. Well, that uses port 3389. I wonder if port 135 is open. If it is, now I have access. So you need multiple ways to do the same thing. So understand that. Okay, and what we're looking for is we're looking for this WMIC OS list brief. And yes, I'm using this because it's much easier. It's a much shorter command than the PowerShell one. Oh, it's not going to let me. Okay, so it's WMIC OS list brief. I think it's like that. And then it asked us, what did it ask us? The serial number of the system. Well, I can't copy and paste out of here, so that's really frustrating. 00329. Oh, it let me copy and paste out. I just can't copy and paste in. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so now the Microsoft Management Console. This is actually, when I was a sysad years and years ago, this was like my best friend. And what it is it's a management console. You can see you have, they don't really have anything in here right now, so just bear with them. But you can see they just type MC on your computer and search, pops up this management console, and you can see they can add all these snap-ins, and it's all the different management tools, and you can have them all in one spot. It's so nice because you don't have to like group policy. You can do like group policy updates and stuff like that without having to open the group policy. You can have this open at once, and it has all of your tools. It's really nice, and you can see select the computer you want the snap-in to manage. Well, if you're going to do this to other computers, there you go. You can actually have it right there. All right, so let's see. Windows Management Tool, management.msc. Okay, they're just showing you that's what it is. But it's really it's really some of the same tools we're talking about. It's just allowing you to manage them that way. Now, the WSL, this came out, I don't know, okay, they said it came out in 2019. I didn't realize it came out that long ago. I was going to say 3 or 4 years ago, but this is Windows subsystem for Linux or something like that. And basically, Windows subsystem for Linux, yeah. So basically what it does, allows people to run Linux, Bash, stuff like that on your Windows computer. This is a huge, huge upgrade from, it used to be, if you have Linux stuff, sorry, it doesn't really operate with Windows, and it's starting to mingle, and that is such a good thing. Now, you can see you can run it here, enable Windows optional feature, online feature name, blah, blah, and I'm trying not to sneeze, guys, sorry. But it says, excuse me, You can either download a Linux distro, which you can use like Ubuntu, whatever, it'll just download it, and then it installs bash.exe, and now you have a containerized Windows Linux machine, basically, right? And then you can see, look, they type ls, and you've got bin, dev, home, blah, blah, depending on whatever subsystem you used. Now you can access the C volume and other volumes on the host operating system via the mount, so you can actually mount, no, they don't show that, but you can mount the C drive. Now you're literally operating on your Windows machine using Linux. It's really nice. It's really cool. If you don't do this, you can actually see, let me pull this up real quick. I don't want to give you guys everything, but okay. I'll just show you guys. I'm not even gonna show you guys because I don't want to like give you guys all my stuff, but you can see I have this running and I have an Ubuntu on my Windows right now. So really, really nice. Check it out. If you're a Linux person, but you have to run Windows for whatever reason, for like work or something like that, use this. It's really nice. Okay, desktop experience versus server core. So this is what I was talking about. Not everything has a GUI, right? So server core, first released in 2008, minimalistic server environment only containing key server functionality. What's the point of this? I can have much less resources if I don't have a GUI, I don't have bloatware, I don't have all that stuff. It's just running on the operating system, and that's all it is. And so it's really nice. You can see here, once installed, the initial setup for server core can be done via sconfig. They're just showing you how to. You're actually going in, and I've done a few servers like this back in the day. Basically, this is saying work group. You would put the domain, you would put the computer name, you would add your admin, you would just set it up exactly how you'd set up a normal machine, except for you don't have a GUI, you're just using the command line. And then it says here, certain server applications cannot run on server core. I'll give you one guess why. It probably needs something graphical, right? It's not, it doesn't take a genius, right? SharePoint. Why can't SharePoint run? Well, it's a lot of graphics, right? Like stuff like that. It's not like crazy concepts here. Now, I'm sure there's other technical details as to why it really can't run, because you could make the argument that like, well, SharePoint, technically you're just storing files in the, I get it, but I'm sure they've built it and designed it intentionally to have a GUI admin interface, and that's what they're trying to stick with. Let's see. In any environment, the determination between using desktop experience or server pro or server core, should be made by both business and intended use of the server. This is actually something Hack the Box every now and then has gems in here, man. And you guys know I don't love Hack the Box because of the way they do certain things, and it's just, they're kind of all over the place at times, but this is a gem, right? You should make this decision by business need, intended use of the server, and skill level of the admins. So a couple things here. One, the reason I say I don't like it, right, or why I like Hack the Box is kind of frustrating at times. That's not proper English, the way they did that sentence, and it's somewhat bothering me, but that's all right. But the skill level of the admins, this is something businesses do not consider, and it bites them in the butt time and time again. You need to design your infrastructure on the skill set you have available as well. If you don't have skill set to manage core server, don't do it, right? Because you're going to end up eating way more cost and time to troubleshoot when things go wrong. And then you can see here, regedit's available, PowerShell, command prompt, and then task manager. Those are about it. Oh, RDP is available. So compare it, look at what you want, but the core will save you a lot of money in actual physical overhead from the hardware and stuff like that, but it will cost you if you don't have the correct admins. So now Windows security. Okay, security is a critical topic, and many built-in features that can be abused. Yep, that's Windows is notoriously, they prioritize availability over security all day long. They're going to always do it. It's how they operate, and it has worked for them in the past, so why not? But they are getting better at security, and I give them credit. They put a lot of effort into it. So security identifier. Each of the security principles on the system has a unique identifier called a SID, a security identifier. This is, you can see Bob's right here. right? Windows can distinguish the two in their rights based on their SID. So that means, hey, if you have two identical users. Now, some people might say, well, that's silly. Why would you have two identical users? What if, let me give you an example. What if Stuffy worked at this company and then I quit, go somewhere else? Now Stuffy works, another Stuffy gets hired on. What if you still have my old account? Why would you keep my old account? What if I'm on a litigation hold? What if I got fired, but I have a ton of information on my stuff that you guys can't get rid of? What if you just keep things for auditing and compliance? You got to take all this into consideration and understand Windows thought of some of this stuff for you. So now they have a SID, security identifier. It's broken down in this pattern. Here we go. Whoops. The SID identifies the string as a SID. So SID, that's what the S stands for. 1, revision level to date. This has never changed and has always been 1. So if they ever change the SID, it'll be revision 2. Identifier authority. A 48-bit string that identifies the authority, the computer or network that created the SID. So if I ever need to know who created that SID, boom. Sub-authority. This is a variable number that identifies the user's relation or group described by the SID. I just realized, I don't know if you guys saw that pop up. I did not know I had a friend on Steam named that. Described by the SID to the authority that created it. It tells us in what order the authority created the user's account, blah, blah. Okay, and you guys can read this, which computer or domain created the number, and then the RID that distinguishes one account from another, blah, blah. You guys can read all that if you want. I will tell you, I can't look at a SID and go, okay, this is this, this is this, this and this, but I can take it and then go break it down offline, meaning I can't physically just look at one and go, boop, that's this. I wouldn't know, but I can take it and track it down to what it's needed at the domain level using other things. So now you have your security accounts manager and access control entries. So SAM grants access rights to a network to execute specific processes. So the access rights themselves are managed by ACE, access control list. If you guys don't know what an access control list is, this is notorious in not just Windows, but all kinds of stuff. It is who has access. It's a list of who has access to what, and you control it. Access control list. It's that simple. They control the entries, which define which users, groups, and processes have access to a file or to execute something, for example. So discretionary access control list and system access control list. Those are the two types. Every thread and process started or initiated by a user goes through an authorization process. Yep. It's access tokens validated by the local security authority. In addition to the SID, this access can contain other security relevant information, blah, blah. It is an essential function, part of learning how to use and work around these security mechanisms. It is very important that you understand how these discretionary access control lists and these system access control lists work. But again, you don't have to memorize the SID. You can break that down at a later time. User access control is a security Windows feature to prevent malware. Most of you have probably seen the UAC bypass. That's what they're talking about here. The UAC pop-up that says, hey, you can't do this, or you shouldn't do this, or whatever. There needs to be an admin that does this, etc., etc. So here's kind of the holy cow. This is not a very user-friendly breakdown, but so there's an admin approval mode in UAC, which is designed to prevent unwanted software from being installed without the admin knowledge, right? So you've seen this consent prompt if you ever installed specific software. So if you've seen this where you try to install something, it pops up and it says like, hey, you need admin access to this. And then you click, it's got like a little shield on it. And like that's what they're talking about. Since the installation requires admin rights, a Windows pops up asking if you want to confirm with a standard user who has no rights, execution will be denied. But if you are an admin, you can ask for the password. To understand how UAC works, we need to know how it's structured. Okay, so here it is. So the user, hold on. I have no idea how this thing is supposed to be breaking down here. Okay, so new, existing, okay. So user isolation, no, I have no clue what's going on with this thing. Okay, here it is. It starts over here. I couldn't tell where it was starting. So the user creates a process. They execute the shell, executes code. No, it doesn't start there. Where does it actually start? All right. All All right, I would go here if you want to read it. I'm going to be honest with you. I can't break this down without like sitting here for a second because it's all over the place. But the big thing is it's going to check if you have the permissions. And you can see Windows sign and manifested for silent elevation, all that stuff. Okay, great. I would read that if you guys are curious how UAC works. The biggest thing is this isn't going to teach it to you anyway, because even if you can high level see it, you're going to, I don't know, let's see what this is. Yep, this is what you want. You want Microsoft's documentation on it. And you can see, wow, this is way easier. Standard user login, they go to log in, they have their standard user access token, so it needs to elevate, it asks, then you authenticate, then you get a admin or access token. It's that simple. I don't know what all this is. I mean, I know what it is, but I'm saying you don't need to know every single involvement of this, but okay, so it looks like going backwards, you create the process, you execute the shell code, user performs operation requiring privilege, it goes into virtualization, file system, and registry. Okay, and then application information, ActiveX install, no, check UAC slider level. So UAC, you can, like they said, there's different levels of it. So depending on what you have it set at, and then basically they're just showing that it isolates it. Okay. The registry is a hierarchical database in Windows. Okay, so the registry is everything. The registry is, there's an entry for everything on your machine. So it's a database in Windows critical for the operating system. It stores low-level settings for Windows operating systems and applications. When they say low-level settings, they're talking about like very specific, intricate details that you basically, it sets or stores, excuse me, and it makes it unbelievably volatile if you start messing with it. Regedit is a great tool. You should probably not be familiar with it because it's how you actually edit your registry. And then you can see here is the tree structure of the main folders. So you have your the binary data, 32-bit number, little Indian. If you don't know what that is, that's fine. You don't have to. Null terminated string. A null terminated string that contains unexpanded references. Okay, so they're once again they're just kind of walking through it quickly, but you can see if you go to like the local machine, that's the physical machine you're on, right? You have your current user, all that stuff. You can go down to every single thing about it, right? Each folder under computer is a key, and then the root keys all start with H key. So if you're ever referencing it, it's H key, then blah, blah, and it's just a folder structure. It's just like your regular directory. H key local machines, HKLM, excuse me. This root contains 6 subkeys like SAM, security, system, software. Okay, so let's actually just go to it here so you guys can see it, because they're not really like giving you much information about it. So we'll just go in here, and you can just type regedit, and there it is. And you notice it's a MSC, Microsoft. I can't remember what it stands for exactly, but I always think of console. All right, and you can see for some reason it has this already all the way in, but this is very hard to see. But I'm just showing you this is where it opened up at. H key local machine, which is HKLM, right? Then they went into software, Microsoft. Give me a sec, it's scrolling down. Windows NT, current version. And you notice there's millions of, not millions, but there's a lot. Win login, right? So we went to the Win login. That's just what it opened at, so that's fine. And you can see disable lock workstation. So do I want someone to be able to lock this workstation? If I say no, I don't want them to, I can go in here. The value is 0. I can make it 1. And then guess what? They can't lock their workstation. It's that low level detail that you can go through everything. And the reason this is so important is because as an attacker, I can also use that to my advantage. If I can change registry keys, I can have startup services, I can have all scheduled tasks, I can have all kinds of stuff. The entire system registry is stored in several files. Yep. All right. The user specific registry, HKCU, is stored under
your ntuser.dat. Run once registry keys. These are also called registry hives, which contain a logical group of keys, subkeys, and values to support software and files loaded into memory. This is going to be very important when the operating system is started or a user logs in. So how do I get more sneaky, right? Well, if it's going to run in memory, then I can start changing registry keys in here, right? And then have things run in memory. Upon startup, the Windows registry includes the following 4 keys: run once, run once. And you notice it's local machine, current user, each one. The reason that's important is because the local machine will run on the local machine, and then the other one is current user, so that will be when that current user's logged in, right? Okay, so while logged into the system, they have under the current version key. You can see here, this is what runs. You can see they did a registry query, local machine, software, Microsoft Windows current version. And you can see while logged into a system, here's what runs. You've got your security health system tray, you've got whatever this is, and your green shot exe. So you can see how this gets pretty dangerous pretty quick, because if I change this or add something or whatever, well, what do you think happens? It runs, right? So here's the current user, runs showing applications running under the current user while logged in. So you have here Docker. So they've got Docker, they got OpenVPN, they got OneDrive, etc. So you can see how we could set up persistence this way. Application whitelisting. This is using things like AppLocker. AppLocker is basically a tool that says, hey, you can't run anything unless we whitelist that application. AppLocker was notoriously bad before. It's gotten a lot better, but it was pretty easy to bypass before. But you can see it allows for creating rules based on file attributes such as publisher name. So one thing that people misunderstand a lot is you should never be doing whitelisting just based on like a file name or file hash or something, because then I just change one thing and now I can run it. You should be doing the whitelisting based on a lot of things. Local group policy, and the hash is a pretty safe bet because nobody's going to recreate the hash, but you want like publisher name, hash, stuff like that. Local group policy. So the local group policy is local to that machine, but group policy allows you to actually set this to a domain wide, right? So you can see we can open up local group policy, GP edit MSC, and you can go to things like admin template, blah, blah. You can go in here and you can actually start setting enabling features, right? Like here, secure boot, virtualization, all that stuff. You could turn all that on or off. If you do this from a domain perspective, from a group policy, it applies to everybody. You can do this for servers. You can do this for any OU that you have in Active Directory. If you actually just do it locally, which if I were you, I'd mess with your local group policy if you want to change things on your machine specifically. Because you can change things like what starts up and things like that. A lot of people do this for people actually, I believe, have out there scripts you can run to get rid of all bloat from Windows, and that's some of the stuff you can do. You can turn a lot of the crap off. Windows Defender, right? So Defender is their antivirus. It is, again, it was really bad before. It's actually pretty good now, especially the enterprise version. It was actually one of the top. So it comes with several features such as real-time protection, sample submission to upload suspicious files. They are locked to prevent any potentially malicious behavior, etc. So there's a lot of good things you can do here. Here they're going to say PowerShell command like get MP computer status to check what protections are enabled. So you can see they're going to check, is all this enabled? Now, one thing I want to emphasize here is if you're going off this for a pen test, be cognizant of the fact that not everybody uses Microsoft Defender. So what you might have is you might go, oh, there's no protection on this. But the reality is they probably turned all this off and they have a protection on something else. They might have EDRs and stuff like that on there, which you'd enumerate anyway. It's just for people starting out. Don't like think this is the, if you go to someone's computer and you see that these aren't on, that you think you found the gold mine. Just be cognizant of that. You can see they have logging on here, right? Windows Defender will pick up payloads from common open source frameworks such as Metasploit, unaltered versions of tools like Mimikatz, etc., etc. It is still possible to fully bypass Windows Defender protections enforced by the latest version with the most up-to-date definitions installed. This is true. Just know that it's true with most EDRs and things. This isn't the EDR. This is just your antivirus. So they're talking about out-of-the-box Windows Defender. Keep in mind, it doesn't have everything that enterprise versions and stuff like that have. So find the SID of Bob Smith. Okay, so all we have to do here is go to who am I? I don't know if we're Bob. I'm assuming we're Bob. Actually, no, we're a Hack the Box student, right? So who am I? User. Okay. Okay, guys. So I did actually go on here and look at the users, and there is a Bob Smith. So I was confused again. I thought we had to go create him, but he is on here. So I actually went and it's not gonna let me. Okay, it did. I went and found a command on Google. Because who am I can't show you that, so I don't know. I'm assuming they just wanted us to go find it. So it's just I just use get WMI object Win32 user account, and then I just said select name and SID. So you can see there it is. So if you're wondering what the command is, I know it's very small. It's get tac WMI object space Win32 underscore user account, and then a pipe, and then select, and then name, comma, SID. You can not select the name and SID. It'll just give you way more information. So here's Bob's. I thought for some reason we had to go create the account, but I don't know why I thought that. Okay, so hopefully that copied and pasted over. Okay, it did. Now, what third-party security application is disabled at the startup for the current user? Okay, so we found the Bob Smith SID, and then it's asking us what third-party security application is disabled at startup. I mean, we can just look at the task or services, maybe, if this thing's lagging so much, and we can look and see services. Stopped. Okay, these are all stopped. Startup. Okay, so OneDrive, Cortana, NordVPN. I'm assuming it's NordVPN. It's the only security tool there. Let's try NordVPN. Okay. It says it's case sensitive. Okay, that's right. Personally, I don't actually think it is a security tool, but I mean, I understand why it is, but I don't know why they'd have the VPN in there, but whatever. Okay, so now we have to create a shared folder called company data. Okay. I hope this doesn't keep doing that. So let's create a new folder called company data. Then we have to share it. Advanced sharing, share it. Company data is fine. Apply that bad boy. Okay. Create a subfolder called HR inside of that folder. Okay. HR. Create a user called Jim. All right, Jimmy boy. So users and computers. And I doubt they have it on here, but if you guys are on a, yeah, it's not on here. If you guys are ever on a Windows system where you're actually on a domain, ADUC is a Active Directory users and computers is usually where you're going to do that. Okay, so we're going to create a user account, maybe. This thing's not super okay, and then create a security group called HR. Okay, I don't want to sign in with the Microsoft account. This machine is not fast, if you're wondering. Jim is his name. Yep, Jim. Jim. Make his password whatever you want. Because it says, whoops. It says not to change it. In case you forget your password, okay. I don't want to do that. What's your pet's first name? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? All right, Jim, you're in. Create a security group called HR. Okay. Okay, so now we need to create a security group called HR. Wait. Okay, yeah. We created the subfolder. Okay, so we need to create a security group with HR. So we're just going to go into computer management. Maybe. We're going to think about going in there. I don't know if we're admin on this machine or not. Okay. Come on. There's our local users and group computers. So we're going to name a group HR. Add Jim to the HR group. So add Jim. Check his name. He's checked out. Okay, create that bad boy. All right, there's HR. And let's go ahead and make sure Jim's in there. Okay, Jim's in there. Okay, adding the HR security group to the shared company data folder and NTF permission list. Okay. So remove the default group that's present. Okay, so we got to go in here, go to get rid of that, go here. Do we want to do it to all of it? Yep. So we want to do it to the company data folder. Properties, sharing, advanced. Okay, company data, we're good. Permissions. Okay, so we want to add HR group. Okay, we want to, what do they need access to? Allow change and read. So change and read. Disable inheritance before issuing specific NTF. Okay. So disable inheritance. Okay, so we've got that. We'll apply that. I don't know. I mean, we can remove the everyone group. Okay, easy enough. So now we'll go ahead and do all that. Let's see. And it says disable inheritance before issuing specific NTFS permissions. Modify read, execute list folder contents, read, write. Okay. Okay. So we should be pretty much ready to go as soon as we apply this. Yeah. So now, I mean, we should be good. So now all we have to do here is set these specific permissions. So easy enough. All right. And we're going to go to System, Advanced. Maybe we need to edit it too, but there we go. Okay, we want to disable inheritance. Yeah, that's fine. Did it say if we should convert it? Didn't really say. We'll just convert it just in case. Apply that. Okay. And all they're really checking here is that we don't they don't inherit the same permissions as something else. So now all we gotta do, go in here, add one, HR, okay, and we need to add modify, read, execute, list folder contents. So modify, read, execute, list folder contents was right on there and right. Okay, so it should be good. Okay. Now add the HR security group to the NTFS permissions list. Oh, of the HR subfolder, so that's why they did the inheritance, so that we have to add specific permissions to this one. Not sure why they want us to do that, but I guess we'll see when it gets down to it. Okay, so we're supposed to disable inheritance. Apparently we didn't, because it still did it, which is fine. Okay. Oh, it wants us to do it again. Okay, so we'll go to advanced. We'll disable inheritance. Apply. Okay. Now we'll remove the default group that is present. Well, there's a couple default groups that are present, so I don't know if they want us to remove them all, but apparently they do. All right. I guess we just. I don't think it matters if you leave these, if you have them here, to be honest with you. We'll just leave them and see what it does. I don't know why it would matter. Okay. And then what? Use PowerShell to list details about a service. About a service? Okay, so what is the name of the group that is present in the company data? Everyone group. What's the name of the tab that allows you to configure NTFS permissions? That was the security tab. So if you go in here, security tab. What is the name of the service associated with the Windows update? I guess we'll just go to services.msc. It's asking us to list them with PowerShell, which is fine, but it's just like, what are we talking about here? Especially the Windows update service, you could actually just look up. You don't have to do any of this. I'll be honest with you, this skills check is kind of silly, in my opinion. Okay. And there's the WUA, Windows Update Agents. Okay. All right. So they just want us to specifically. What is the name of the service associated with the Windows Update? Okay, so they just specifically want us to do that for some reason. Okay, so let's just go to that. Those are the services. Let's just go to like Task Manager or something and look at what's going on with the Windows Update. Okay, while that's going, list the SID associated with the user account Jim who you created. So we can just go into our PowerShell and we can do the same thing. We should have a new user in there, Jim. There you go, Jim. Why can't I? There we go. Jimmy boy should be your SID. Okay. I don't know why Task Manager is not opening. Task Manager. There we go. Okay, and we're looking for the Windows Update service. Windows session. Make this a little bigger. And you, by the way, you can just Google this if you're curious where it came from. We'll make it alphabetical because I know it's a W. And there you go. Windows Update. WUA serve. All right. What else we got? List the SID associated with the HR security group you created. Okay. So now, let's do Windows 32 user, or come on. Can we do groups? Oh, it's frozen. We'll just Google PowerShell command to list group SIDs. And I'm sure it's the same command, slightly different. Get local group, okay. They're just doing it a different way. You could do WMI, but we'll just do... Man, this is tough. This thing is not responding. Don't do this to me now. We're almost there. Come on. Okay, so this is not responding now. Let me see if I can open another PowerShell. Okay, that opened for some reason, so we'll just say get local group, and we'll select object, and we'll just say name and SID like we did before. All right, and then the HR group is not in there for some reason. There it is. It was the very first one. I was like, I don't see it. Okay, and if you notice, it's 1007. His was 1006. So there you go. All right, easy enough. I have no idea why they have this. I don't know. I'll be honest with you with this part. I thought we were leading to some questions. They just have you do it. I guess cool. Good to know that you can do that. That's what they're trying to show you. So the skill assessment, I was a little thrown off because I was confused. The questions didn't really correlate, which is one of my biggest complaints with Hack the Box. This happens a lot. They just kind of have stuff randomly out there. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. I'm going to throw this whole thing together for you guys. And then you guys will be able to get the full video, as well as we'll keep doing the path and try and get them done. The next couple boxes are not tier 0, so I have to do them offline, and then I'll do the tier 0 boxes for you guys. So hope you guys have a great day. Thanks.